Coming up on Retiring Well with Michael Reese.
We've seen the last 20 years of markets have lost half of their money twice. And when you're retired, you can't be losing half of your money. The problem is, financial advisors out there, they all say the same thing. Hey, you should invest in a balanced portfolio during your retirement. That's what you should do. Well, that's what Steve and Bill did. And in one case it worked, in one case it didn't work.
You know, he actually ended up working 5 more years because he lost about $450,000 during that time frame.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well with Michael Reese, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Welcome to Retiring Well. I'm your host, Michael Reese, and oh my goodness, this might be one of my all-time favorite shows because I love this topic. So this week, we are going to talk about two brothers, Steve and Bill. And we're going to talk about how they do everything the same, but they get these wildly different results and why. And at the end of the day, I'm going to give you a little hint here. What you really are going to learn from today's show is that retirement planning is hard. It's just hard. And I'm not talking about just growing a portfolio to get to retirement. What I'm talking about today is once you retire, once you're getting close, once you actually retire and you actually need to count on your money lasting for as long as you do, that's hard. That's hard. I mean, if you think about it, when you're growing a portfolio, it's real simple. You're just adding money to the pot. Every month or every paycheck, you're adding money in, and all you're focused on is one thing. You're just trying to grow your portfolio so that someday you can be financially independent. Someday you can retire, and all you care about is growth. But what we're going to learn today is the minute you retire, the instant you retire, and then now, hey, you're not adding to the pot anymore. Now what you've got is it. It's all you've got. And you need to last for the rest of your life. And now you want to grow, you got to take income, you got to protect yourself against these big market losses, you got to do all this stuff. Now it's hard. This is when it gets hard. This is when investment planning gets hard. And that's what we're going to talk about. So here we go. Steve and Bill. This is so much fun. You got two brothers, okay, Steve and Bill. And these guys are identical. They invest the same way. They do everything the same way. And what happens is they retire. And when they retire, Steve and Bill, they each retire and they have $500,000 saved for their retirement. And in both cases, it's in their 401ks. Now, here's what's interesting about these two brothers. This $500,000 that they have, they're both in 401k plans, IRA plans, those qualified retirement plans. They are both invested exactly the same way. Their portfolios, the day they retire, are identical. You get their statement. If you were to look at their statement, Steve's statement and Bill's statement, they are identical. They have the exact same funds. They have the exact same amount of money in those funds. Everything is exactly the same. I mean, the same to the penny. In addition to that, they're both in retirement plans. They are in the exact same tax bracket when they retire. All of their income looks identical. It looks the same. So they're same funds, same place. In fact, the exact same funds, the exact same place, the exact same amounts, and the exact same tax brackets. Everything's the same. And then what they both do is they take the exact same money out every year for income. They take out 5% or $25,000 a year. So $500,000, $25,000 a year is distributed, invested the same. The brothers are the same. I think you're getting the theme here, right? Same. So here's what happens though. 10 years go by. 10 years go by, and the brothers get together and they're comparing their accounts. So Steve pulls out his account statement, and he's showing his brother Bill. He says, look at this. I retired with $500,000. I've been taking $25,000 a year for income. And look at my statement here. My account balance is all the way to $1.3 million. It's more than doubled. It's almost tripled, and I've been pulling money out. How cool is that? And then poor Bill says, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? He pulls his statement out after 10 years. And instead of having $1.3 million, he only has a little over $200,000. Steve is on easy street. Bill is going to run out of money. How did that happen? How did that happen? I don't want you going anywhere because later in the show, we're going to tell you exactly how that happened, so don't go away.
Will your retirement vision be your retirement reality? Centennial Wealth Advisory invites you to an eye-opening and exciting event packed with up-to-date, valuable, and important information. Join us for a free presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and find out what you're missing on these vital topics. What is the suitability versus fiduciary standard of care in the financial services industry? What are the biggest tax traps? What are the hidden costs in mutual funds? Why is getting a second opinion the most important financial decision of your life? And much more. Choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, September 12th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City, or Tuesday, September 19th at the Boyne Mountain Resort in Boyne Falls. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit sen-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, making your retirement vision a reality. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Hi, I'm sitting here with Larry Flynn. Thanks for being here, Larry.
Thank you, Mike.
He's one of the advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. And folks, as you may know by now, we certainly invite you to come visit with us. It's absolutely free to get a second opinion on your retirement planning. And I think it's important to get a second opinion from someone who's a specialist when it comes to retirement planning. And Larry, I'm sure they're wondering, if they pick up the phone and they call and come visit with you, what can they expect? What's that experience like?
Well, Mike, they can expect not to get hard sold, okay? We're going to greet them warmly. We're going to sit down and talk to them a little bit about maybe their story, where they're from, where they grew up, how they met their spouse, what they're dreaming of doing once they get soon to be retired or retired.
Kind of what are their goals, right?
Yeah, what are your goals? We're going to talk to them a little bit about who we are, what we do, show them how we do things, especially dealing in the market realities we find ourselves in today.
Got it. So essentially, they're coming in, you're learning a little bit about what's important to them, what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish. I'm sure you're taking a look at what they're doing so far. You maybe share a little bit about you, and it's just in a very relaxed atmosphere.
That's right.
And there's no cost to do this. Is that correct?
No cost. No cost.
All right. So, folks, there you go. I mean, it sounds very simple, very easy, very laid back. There's no reason for you not to just pick up the phone, call the number on the screen, come visit us, get that second opinion. You'd be glad that you did. Welcome back. So earlier in the show, I gave you the story of Steve and Bill, and I said, okay, they've got these crazy results, right? Steve had $1.3 million after 10 years. 10 years into retirement, he's taken all this money out. He's got $1.3 million. His brother Bill invested exactly the same way. Has $200,000? I mean, how does this happen? That's crazy results. They're wildly different. What happened? All right, well, I told you I'd give you the answer. Now I'm going to give you the answer. It's actually pretty simple. See, everything was the same with Steve and Bill, except for one little thing. The one little thing that was different is they didn't retire on the same day. They retired at 2 different years. And so here's what happened. Steve, our winner, retired January 1st, 1990. 1990, right before the big bull. Well, it was already in a bull market, but man, you know how the market was in the 90s. It was incredible. I mean, look at the screen here. Look at all the history there. Nothing but smooth sailing for our man Steve. He picked the right day to retire, right? Good job, Steve. Way to go. His poor brother Bill, on the other hand, Bill chose a different day to retire. He chose January 1st, 2000. 2000. Now think about this, by the way. His brother Steve, he was in the 90s. He got to experience the big bull market run in the 90s for the first 10 years of his retirement. Everything's gravy when the markets are running wild, in a good way, right? But what about poor Bill? Bill ended up retiring, well, right at 2000. And do you know, for the first 10 years, from 2000 to 2009 of Bill's retirement, the stock market portion of his portfolio, not only did it not make anything, it actually lost a little bit. I mean, look what's going on here. Does Steve or Bill, do either one of them, do they control what the markets do during their retirement? Hey, how about you? Do you get to control how the markets do during your retirement? Do you? And hey, what are markets going to do the next 10 years? For the next 10 years, do you think the market's going to look more like Steve's retirement? Or do you think they'll look more like Bill's? Who knows, right? Last I checked, I have a crystal ball. I have one at home, and I have one in my office. I have 2 crystal balls. And I have them because I like to double check the results. And you know what the results always are? Cloudy. Nobody really knows. Those crystal balls, they just don't work, do they? We don't know what the markets are going to bring. And here's the problem. The problem is, financial advisors out there, they all say the same thing. Hey, you should invest in a balanced portfolio during your retirement. That's what you should do. Well, that's what Steve and Bill did. And in one case it worked, in one case it didn't work. Is that good enough for you? Is that good enough advice for you for your retirement? Are you okay saying, here's some dice in my hand, let's roll them. Or here's a coin, let's flip it. Heads, I get Steve's retirement. Tail, I get Bill's. Or I roll the dice, 7, I crap out. Whatever it is, are you willing to gamble your future financial security on what the markets may or may not do? Or, how about this idea? When my dad retired, he told me, Mike, here's my retirement savings. I want you to do 3 things. Protect my principal. Give me some income. And if you can, grow it a little bit. What if you could invest your money in such a way where you kind of end up somewhere in between them, where you're able to do that, protect principal, take income, and grow it a little bit? Would that maybe be a little bit better for you? So here's the thing. If you're sitting on a balanced portfolio, guess what? You're like Steve and Bill. And when it comes to retirement, in our opinion, that's just not good enough.
NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best Is Yet to Come. Our very own Larry Flynn will be the presenter. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The 3 big things being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. for 3 hours, October 4th and October 11th at the NMC Great Lakes Campus, Room 101. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets. Again, that number is 231-995-1700.
It's your retirement. How will you live it? How will you be remembered?
Will you be able to take me on vacation?
Will you be there for my ball games?
Will you teach me your values? You'll be able to play with me.
Oh, help me go to college. How will I remember you?
Have the retirement you dream about. Contact us today.
Hi, this week's Chalk Talk, we are talking about how to take your retirement savings and build a portfolio that makes sense for you regardless of what the markets do. And we've been talking about Steve and Bill and how they got wildly different results. Well, let's see if we can maybe take your retirement savings and structure it in such a way that you end up having success with your retirement planning, if you will. So here we go. Whenever we talk to someone and we look at their overall retirement savings, we tend to segregate those accounts, those retirement savings, into 5 different types of accounts. Now, not everyone uses all 5 accounts, and some do, some don't. But it's a great model for you to structure your accounts for your retirement planning. So let's go ahead and go over it. All right, account number 1. Are emergency funds. So, whenever you're working, you've probably heard this, a good rule of thumb, you want 3 to 6 months of money in, set aside in a bank account for emergencies. 3 to 6 months worth of income. So if you're making $7,000 a month, that would be, I guess what, $20,000 to $40,000, say. Well, that's great when you're working. We have found, though, that when you're retired, usually retirees often need a little bit more in cash than when you're younger, because maybe the kids need money, maybe there's a special cruise package you want to take advantage of or something like that, maybe you want to buy a new car, whatever it is. So we find that normally 6 months to a year's worth of spending, maybe in a case like this, a $7,000 a month income, maybe you put maybe $50,000 to $80,000 here in emergency funds. But that's a better amount of money for retirees. So just heads up on that, maybe closer to a year. But that's the first thing we do is set aside money for emergencies. The second thing we do is right here, PP stands for Principal Protected Accounts. We've seen the last 20 years that markets have lost half of their money twice. And when you're retired, you can't be losing half of your money. It destroys everything, all of your planning. So what we do is we usually have a conversation and say, all right, let's say markets lose half of their value again. How much of your money has to be protected against that? What percentage of your portfolio, what amount of money needs to be protected against loss? Now, while we're protecting, we don't want to get, 1% returns like the bank gives us. We're usually trying to get 3 to 6% returns with those types of accounts. Now, these accounts, they protect your principal, they may deliver income to you, but the idea is to stabilize at least a portion of your portfolio. Number 3 is conservative growth. And what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, now we're starting to take risk with the portfolio. Let's start putting some money in some various accounts where we can get some decent growth. And again, here we might be targeting 5 to 8% returns. But again, the purpose is get some decent growth without a ton of risk. Stability, consistency, that's what we want. Number 4, this is our growth bucket. Now, sometimes clients have this one, sometimes they don't. And here, this is typically where we're trying to get that 8% plus return. However, remember that when we're shooting for better returns there, guess what else we've got? A lot of risk, right? So if markets lose half their value, guess what else loses half its value? Probably the money in that account. Some people are okay with that as part of what they're doing. Some not so much. And then our last account out here, number 5, that's what we would call your legacy account. Sometimes we talk to folks where they have money that's really identified specifically for their children or their grandchildren. Sometimes it's an investment account, sometimes it's various insurance accounts. But the idea there with legacy is you're saying, okay, this is money that's really for the next generation. So however that looks, whether it's investments or savings or real estate or insurance, whatever it is, that goes in that fifth bucket out there. So when we look at this type of a model, this type of a structure, at the end of the day, it's very flexible, but if you use it properly, if you align these types of buckets with your goals, you're going to find that your retirement is going to work out absolutely fine. And like anything else, you just want to go back and revisit from time to time to make sure that you're staying on track.
Will your retirement vision be your retirement reality? Centennial Wealth Advisory invites you to an eye-opening and exciting event packed with up-to-date, valuable, and important information. Join us for a free presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and find out what you're missing on these vital topics. What is the suitability versus fiduciary standard of care in the financial services industry? What are the biggest tax traps? What are the hidden costs in mutual funds? Why is getting a second opinion the most important financial decision of your life? And much more. Choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, September 12th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City, or Tuesday, September 19th at the Boyne Mountain Resort in Boyne Falls. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit sen-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, making your retirement vision a reality. Call 888-608-5825 today. NMC Extended Education is introducing an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Your Best Is Yet to Come. Our very own Larry Flynn will be the presenter. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The three big things being healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. for 3 hours, October 4th and October 11th at the NMC Great Lakes Campus, room 101. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets. Again, that number is 231-995-1700.
Welcome back, folks. I'm sitting here today with Art Canfield, one of the financial advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. Art, glad to have you here today.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Mike.
Well, fantastic. As you know, this week we're really talking about the stories of, the Steve versus Bill, those two brothers. They retire at different times of their lives, and they ended up with wildly different outcomes, mostly because they were essentially kind of relying on the market to cooperate to fund their retirements. And I know you come across people, you talk to people every day, and I'm sure you've got a story or two that relates to some of these types of conversations.
Yeah, how long do we got, Mike? I mean, the stories can go on, it seems like, and it's unfortunate. But one really comes to mind because it made such an impact on me, too, from the way that this couple presented it. And they were from northern Michigan, moved down to southeast Michigan for basically their working careers, ended up in the auto industry, both of them did. Wife retires, I think it was in 2006. She was happy, retired. Husband was getting ready to retire in early 2008. Like, he was literally walking down to the HR office, to turn in his paperwork, and what happened? markets started to decline, correct? So
Yep.
he kind of said, I'll stick it out a little bit. He was pretty aggressively invested. So every day he opened his accounts or, his online statement, he would almost become more depressed, he would talk about.
Okay, well, wait a minute. Let's back up here a minute. So they're working downstate. The wife retired 2006. He's essentially filed paperwork to retire at the beginning of '08, but because the market is going south, he kind of postponed things. And as you can imagine, he wants to retire, so he walks into work every morning, checks his IRA balance, or 401k balance, and it's just getting worse and worse.
Right. He was telling us that in about the end of '06 or mid '07, they had about $1 million saved for retirement. And that was basically their goal. They kind of had that magic number in their mind. Hey, if we get this, I think we're going to be good, because they're fortunate enough to have pensions.
Got it. So they were at that million at the end of '07.
Right.
They must have dropped below in '08, I'm guessing. So he kept working.
He kept working.
How long did that go on?
He actually ended up working 5 more years because he lost about $450,000.
Holy cow!
During that time frame. And he was still contributing too on top of that. So he was feeding this thing as it was going down. Mike, one of the things that stuck out to me when, we talk about risk all the time, right? I mean, how much risk are you willing to take? And we asked that question to him, and he just kind of shook his head. And everybody answers that question differently. But what he said to me was, he says, it's not in numbers anymore at this point in my life. We can talk about 5%, 10%, $100,000. It's about in time. At my age, he was mid-60s. He says, you know what that risk caused? It was 5 years lost of my grandchildren.
So what he was saying, now this is a big deal. Folks, I hope you heard this, because I'm going to make sure we're going to repeat this. What he was saying to you was, correct me if I'm wrong, he said, look, when you're asking me about what is risk, how much risk am I willing to take, everybody says a number or a percentage, right? But he said, no. Risk to me is, it cost me 5 years of spending time with his grandchildren.
Correct.
Yeah, how many of you, by the way, folks, think about that. How many of you, because he was taking more risk than he should have when he was at retirement, he had to work 5 more years, that's 5 years of lost time. Right. Then you can't make that back.
No. And in his situation, he kept beating himself up because he was there, right?
Yeah.
He was there. And by having the wrong advice at the wrong time, not matching up to those goals, completely was devastating.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm sure that by the time he got to you, you got him straightened out.
Yeah, it was fortunate. He was back to filing his retirement paperwork again, and that's when he come in, he says, guys, I can't do this again. How can we position us to where we can have a successful, happy retirement? The nice thing is I just visited him again. That was about maybe 2-3 years ago. I just saw him the other day. Happy as can be, just bought themselves a pontoon boat. They're taking the kids out fishing now. And,
fantastic.
It could be better, so.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
At least we have a happy ending there, right?
Right.
All right, well, Art, that was a great story. Really appreciate you being here this week. And folks, wow. The markets in '08 crashed. People worked a lot more years. That was very common back then. You never know, the markets could crash again. You might find yourself in the same position. This is why you need to get that second opinion. That's our show this week, folks. Really appreciate you watching. Have a great weekend.